Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We're fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey for the last several years. So thank you, Folgers. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, for the contribution of his time, his music, and his voice for the intro you just heard. He is an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite streaming platforms. Also, big thanks to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind our logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror and Halloween genre, but does incredible commission pieces of any type. So tonight, I've really been looking forward to this. Stephen Bassett joins us again, Director of Paradigm Research Group, and he returns to discuss many things, but we'll touch on the 2025 Congressional UAP and disclosure hearings. 31 Atlas, isn't that all over the place right now? And I'm not the person to ask, but people seem to think that I am. So I figure we're just going to go right to someone who probably can give you a little bit of a better answer than I could. This and much more. So everybody in chat room, you know the drill. Of course, we're going to go, I will highlight some of your comments just so they make it across the screen. And we will get to questions as Steve is ready to answer. I'm not going to cut him off for, of course, a question, but we will try to get to as many questions and comments as possible. Hello, Michael. Hello, Kevin. How's it going? Hello, Heidi. Hello. Spooky greetings. I like that. Hi, Mort. Wayne, working, always working. I know, always working. So as everybody seems to be coming in, see, Michael, I'm going to tag yours right away, and I'll make sure that we get to you. Yeah, the Buga sphere, Peruvian mummies. I know there's a lot coming up. But without further ado, let's just get the show on the road. Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Hey. How are you? Thank you for coming back. I'm loving
fine.
your hangout.
Yeah, this is my sanctum sanctorum, and I'm back in DC. I had a trip to LA that went extremely well. Some wonderful people hosted me there.
Yeah.
And got to meet a lot of other people that are interested in this subject. Gave 3 presentations in 3 days. So,
wow.
Trip to LA. What can I say?
Busy
right?
guy. Everything's crazy in LA. Go. You
think things are crazy in LA? Oh, you
Yeah.
need to come here, dear. You want to see crazy. we are hitting new heights to crazy. All right here.
Oh, I can imagine. I love LA, but for many different reasons. The city that never sleeps. But yes, I can imagine out your neck of the woods, it's a bit chaotic. Where do you even start with the chaos out your neck of the woods? There's so much out there right now, and people seem to be interested. It seems like it's taken, unless you've been involved, like you're in the field, of research, or, you're all about UFOs, ET, I think you'll get those people hanging on. But there seem to be a lot of other people now, us common folk, who are just like, there's something to this. And there's so much being put out there that people are just looking for real answers. because there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation floating around.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Look, first of all, don't confuse what we'll call over interest and awareness. The awareness of let's just talk about Americans. Okay?
Yeah.
But we could almost extend this to most of the world.
Yeah.
The awareness of this phenomenon by Americans is probably 96-7%.
Wow, really?
Maybe 3 out of 100 people, you just go walking around randomly in any state would be able to say, UFO? What is this? I'm not familiar. What is that? No. Or extraterrestrial, ET, whatever. Yeah. So the awareness level is practically completely saturated the culture. Interest is another matter. It can vary from following it to really following it to engaging it, right up into the level that the podcasters like yourself are doing, and I'm doing, and my colleagues are doing. Mm-hmm. But the amount of engagement by the general public is more than enough based upon political social studies of phenomena and, or rather, social and political change, more than enough to flip this. Right, more than enough. It's not a democratic process when as soon as 51% go, okay, let's do it. No, not at all. So believe me, right now we have the basic, how would you say, platform on which to step up and get this done. And we have for a while. And so we're at a very high level. And we will get to higher levels of engagement and interest, but it'll be disclosure that brings that, the confirmation from the president that brings that. Because at some point, the amount of interest and engagement by the public almost guarantees you're going to get the confirmation. And then, of course, things really grow. So we're right there. We're right there. I think the break point, but it's a fluctuating and somewhat baffling process right now.
It's baffling to me because, I mean, presidents have talked about this for like decades, especially like Eisenhower and Ronald Reagan, I mean, Nixon took Jackie Gleason to the base and said, hey, here's an alien. Poor Jackie Gleason was never the same after that.
I believe that. Shirley MacLaine got that from Jackie's wife. Shirley told me that face to face when I met her once. I believe that story. So there you go. I mean, that was quite a while ago, right?
But I mean, it's floating around. Astronauts, have talked about it, and and I find like even like World War II pilots, even like the deathbed confessions, like there's people talking about it. Why are we so fixated on this disclosure has to matter now?
Well, now you just shifted gears in a big way there, Michelle.
I like shaking things up.
Let me go back to what you were saying. Just going to put in a nice and neat package.
Okay.
Since Roswell,
yes,
there have been 20 elections, 20 presidential elections, and there have been 14 presidents. Right? 14 different presidents.
Right.
Okay. And every one of them, I think, knew it's real, meaning there's a real thing happening. All right. It's not an illusion or some sort of psychosis. No. Right. It's very likely every one of them knew that it was real and not human. Very likely. Because a president, there's a lot of ways that a president can, how would you say, get informed about something like this without making a big deal of it, without having risking it getting out. Just a little private conversation with the right person, let the president know that, yeah, it's real. It's not us. We're working on it. Big issue, but don't worry about it, Mr. President. We've got it. You've got a lot on your plate. I think that is what we're going to find out. But we know some that absolutely knew it was real and non-human. That certainly goes to Truman. It goes to Eisenhower.
Yeah.
Very likely Kennedy. So 14 presidents, 20 elections. And where are we? We still haven't gotten a confirmation yet, right? So that gives you the overall picture. Now you can then work with that to kind of say, well, okay, why? Why have we not gotten it? What was the situation with each president? And a lot of research has been done there by certainly Richard Dolan and Grant Cameron and others. We have a sense of what happened. All right. And the other thing that you need to know in terms of trying to assess why we still are waiting to have the obvious truth confirmed to us is that this issue has been subject to all of the vicissitudes of history.
Mhm.
There have been a lot of them. This has been a pretty tumultuous 70 some years. Can we agree on that? Not that history isn't filled with that. It's just that it stretched out over a longer period of time. We've had more happen in the last 77 years than probably happened in the last 700, it seems.
Right.
The population has increased from 2 billion to 8 billion right there. That's a big deal.
That's a
And
big
so
deal.
it's been always subject to upheavals in history. Now, this is true of all activism. All activism is very sensitive to major social political changes and upheavals. It's kind of activism and an issue kind of rides along history like a sidecar and a motorcycle. It's kind of going to go where that motorcycle goes. There's not much you can do about that. You can line a poke on the driver of the motorcycle and say, look, can we go there or go there? But overall, you're hooked together. And over the years, there's always been significant things impacting the ability to successfully execute a activist outcome and get the truth. Right? In the early days of the presidents like certainly Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, it was the nuclear arms race, which was intensifying very rapidly, as well as real problems with the Soviet Union. Let us not forget the Berlin airlift crisis and all of that stuff. So that was a big deal, right? And then as you move into the 70s, you're thinking, okay, that settling down, but then came the proxy wars. That's I've heard that term. The proxy wars refers to all the wars that were initiated and executed primarily because of the nuclear weapons issue and mutual assured destruction. You got 6, 7, 8, eventually 9 new countries. And if you're a new country, you're untouchable, right? Nobody's invading you. That's a given, right? And you got to be careful what you do. But what they sort of figured out, the powers that run these 9 countries eventually, was that, if you need to invade another country that's not a new country, well, yeah, because the other countries, they're not gonna risk a nuclear war over some other country that is not one of the nuclear powers. And so thus began the proxy wars. I won't go into it, but there were many of them. On several continents, millions of people were killed. Now, this was not a good thing. And so that was a huge distraction to the issue of the ET presence throughout the 70s. Absolutely. Very strongly throughout the 70s. And as we got into the 80s, things kind of settled down some, right? Things were looking kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as we reach the end of the 80s, you've got the end of the Cold War. Huge change. Big plus for disclosure. It made it a lot easier to pursue it. It eliminated a lot of the risk. He's looking real promising. And that was happening under George H.W. Bush.
Yeah.
He might have become the disclosure president if he had won a second term, but he didn't. And so in comes Bill Clinton. But we are in the post, essentially, we're in the post Cold War I era. Right now we're in Cold War II, but Cold War I, an era of great possibilities that could lead to détente and much less stress and what have you. And so not surprisingly, the activism begins right around that period. The beginning of an activist movement on this issue starts in the late 80s. Prior to that, there really wasn't an activist movement. There was the odd this and the odd that, but a congealing activist movement, no. And the person that led that was Stephen Greer, Dr. Stephen Greer. He's the one that got the activists going. Late 80s, his CE5 events were basically activists, kind of drawing the people in, getting them involved. He was doing research and trying to find witnesses. He did research and activism. I'm mostly a pure activist. And so his activism culminates in 2001 in May. He brings a major press conference to DC. In fact, it was held upstairs in the National Press Club. Brought in quite a few witnesses, both physically and in tape. It was a huge event. It was an activist event. So that really sort of got the activist process underway. I had been involved in just 5 years doing my stuff. doing what I could do, but Greer was much more out in front. And so when he did that, that was extremely energetic and helpful to anybody else trying to do activism. But before it could get going, history intervenes again with the 9/11 event,
Yes.
which completely pushed everything off to the side and led to more proxy wars, right, throughout the 80s. Right? So again, so I'm giving you a picture of why, just one of the reasons why 70, what is it now? 77 years after, 78 years after Roswell, something that we were told that happened. Got a saucer, got a saucer, okay. Eventually we learned we had the bodies, but certainly we had that saucer. It was announced and then it was taken away. 77 years after it was literally published by the base through a press release that we have one of those saucers, which means we have the pilots, we still haven't gotten confirmation. All right. So
which is crazy.
That is kind of the background that leads us to where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And where we are now is unprecedented.
I think there's definitely a lot of potential. I mean, we know there's back engineered crafts. Look at TR3, TR3B, the triangles, those are ours, right? So
we don't have absolute confirmation of that, but we have, interestingly enough, we don't have specific formal confirmation that TR3B is ours.
Right.
But we do have confirmation under oath that we have the ET vehicles, the non-human vehicles, and we have the bodies of the that were the pilots of those vehicles. And so, in terms of, and that's progress, and that's a big deal. In fact, that was a milestone event, a watershed event that we've been building on ever since. Not that it hadn't been talked about before. The researchers had already determined long ago that Roswell was real. There were bodies and so forth, but it was never said under oath until 2023. So that was kind of a big deal. And but in terms of formal confirmation coming from the Congress, coming under oath, we've gotten that much. And there's this much, yet it has to be confirmed, such as which of those things is ours? Was the Phoenix craft ours or theirs? Or the TR3Bs ours or theirs? And so forth. That's kind of details.
Yes.
What really matters is, are there non-human craft? Yes. Were there non-human pilots? Yes.
Yes.
Do we probably have some kind of versions of it? Very likely, yes. Okay, but still not confirmed under oath. But the progress we're making now is put enormous pressure on the Department of Defense, the White House, and the Congress. I say the process, which includes the Congress. So we're practically there. We're right there on the edge of maybe crossing the finish line and getting a confirmation from the president. But as always, history is intervening more than ever. We're getting problems coming in from every direction, left, right, up, down. It's mind-boggling. I mean, the government has supercomputers to deal with this. I got a what have I got? I got an HP, decent HP computer. It's not bad, but it ain't a supercomputer. And we're trying to deal with this. And that is what my job is, to try to explain, what's going on now that's affecting this process? Can you do anything about it, et cetera, et cetera? And that's one of my principal jobs.
Do you think it's like a distraction? Like, are we meant to know? Because every time it seems, because we get close and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, there's something else. We get close. Oh, wait, there's something else. Like, are we actually meant to get this information?
I understand that people would feel that way, but history is not like that. History is a massive tide moving forward with all kinds of currents. And I assure you, there are people that still believe that 9/11 was to thwart the breakthrough that Stephen Greer did in May of 2001. No.
Yeah.
Right. No. None of this is a distraction put together on this issue.
That would make him pretty big deal. I mean, he is in his own right, but I don't think to that magnitude. What do you think about the CE5? Do you think that has? Do you think that's put things back a bit, or do you think it's beneficial? Like, do you think it helps the whole movement at all?
No, I don't think it's held back the
Yeah.
progress of the activism.
Yeah.
Two, it's perfectly legitimate.
Yeah.
All right, for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that something else has been going on that's not involved in the politics now.
Mm-hmm.
And I can apologize to the contactees about this, but it's realpolitik. You simply can't walk contactees into the door and expect them to start holding hearings. I mean, you got to let them walk before they can run,
Mm-hmm.
and so that is on hold. I assure you, we'll have it stay.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the contact stuff,
Mm-hmm.
we know that these entities are universally telepathic.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that really matter in terms of getting a hearing next month? No, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Does it matter long term, particularly post disclosure? Yeah. And is
Yes.
it relevant to other things that have been going on? Yes. Such as, because we've known for some time that all these beings are telepathic, which in and of itself is profound, because it seems to imply that all advanced life, in other words, that develops the level of cognitive power that we have and beyond, is telepathic. It's like it's innate to the what's the word I'm looking for? It's innate to the sentient experience. All right. Okay. And if that's true, that is incredibly profound. So they know they're telepathic. And so right away, the idea that you go out in a group and you just project your thoughts and invite them in or what have you makes total sense. It's logical. You want to use a laser to at least let them know where you are? Sure. And then they get in close and then they start reading your mind. So CE5s are totally cool. And they have excited people and involved people. But Stephen Greer was doing in the 80s. And that was, let me assure you, he was getting a lot of attention from the government because he was taking some high-level government people out on these CE5s because it was an innocent time, the 80s, right?
Yeah,
and so the guys at the DE are finding, wait a minute, you mean undersecretary of what was out doing what, when, where? And so I think that's one of the reasons they sort of reached out to him and find out what the hell is going on. So CE5s have been going on since the 80s. We're talking about 40-some years. And they've spread, and now they're happening around the world. They've gotten more sophisticated. Now you're talking about devices that can actually draw the ETs in. We have a new word for this total package called psionics. Then that's another world. Okay, that world will eventually cross into the Congress, get talked about under oath, and move on into the post-disclosure world. But first, we have to get the fundamental disclosure. And so, CE5, Stephen was ahead of his time. Being ahead of your time is a curse. Let me tell you, I've been ahead of my time a few times in my life. I was trying to get funding for what do you call it? Video phones.
Wow.
In the early 80s, right?
Yes.
Way before they turned up. And nothing good came from it other than pain and suffering. And so whatever. So he was ahead of his time. But nevertheless, that is now a fully recognized issue. And of course, recently we had a breakthrough on that because Diane Hennessy Powell's work finally went public in a big way with the telepathy tapes, which will eventually be part of it, I think, at some point, a full-blown documentary with the audio will be matched up with video to create an extraordinary event. But just the audio tapes was enough to blow your mind. And when I heard those, I immediately worked to get her into this Contact in the Desert conference, which was held May of last year. She came in, presented, also did a live demonstration on stage, got several standing ovations.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. So telepathy is now in play. Is the Department of Defense happy about this? No, they're not. They're not happy about this. Can they really do anything about it? Not really. So again, that's my thought on CE5s.
Right. You just, there's been a lot of big enough names who have come in through the years to try to disclose this. Like, what was it? I think I read, was it 1958 where Major Donald Kehoe went live talking about the government's cover-up of UAPs?
52.
What,
5 years after Roswell, he goes on after they had the big flyover DC and says, those are flying saucers. Those are ETs.
Yeah. See? So people are pretty, pretty up there saying, no, this is a thing. And of course, Bob Lazar comes out and says, okay, there's all kinds of freaking commotion going on over here. This is a thing, and then you're getting into even Dr. Jalen Hynek, who came out, from Blue Book and said UFOs, may not be using conventional space travel. Maybe they're just coming from another dimension, or
Sure.
he's talking about it. And this is a guy whose basic job is to debunk it and hide it initially.
The list of people that have been pretty much saying this is real and not human is a long list going all the way back to the 40s.
Yes.
We have quotes from many of them on my website, paradigmresearchgroup.org, under resources. Go to quotes. I got about 50, 60, 70 quotes for pretty high-level people going way back, including astronauts, right? Moonwalking astronauts. But they can't disclose. I mean, they can state that they believe it's extraterrestrial. They can say powerful things like that, but only the president can disclose.
Right.
And that's capital D confirmation, right? An astronaut coming forward and saying, this is what I believe. This is what I've been told. I believe they're non-human. That is essentially I guess you could say, a witness statement. Right. It's a witness statement. It's a revealing process. It
doesn't matter who you are
coming out.
Yes.
So it's part of a small D disclosure process. All of these witnesses going all the way back to the very beginning, right, are part of the small D disclosure process. And that's fine, but that's not capital D. Capital D can only come from the president of the United States.
So what are your thoughts now on Dr. Greg Rogers, a former chief of NASA, who says that he was shown a UFO in a hangar and claimed it, it was reverse engineered? He basically said, yeah, we got it from them. And now, of course, NASA is designated as an intelligence agency, from Disney to intelligence agency. I thought it was pretty outstanding.
I don't know if somebody has done that. I don't know. It's been formally designated as an intelligence agency.
It's been floating around, which is why I thought I would mention that, because I thought, oh, that's something.
I don't think so, but let's say that plenty of agencies are in the business of having to withhold information, right, and have classification issues with respect to their work.
Yes,
it doesn't make them an intelligence agency, but nevertheless, believe me, NASA has known about the ET presence since the day it was born.
Yes,
what can you do, right?
Yeah, I know. They know where all the good stuff are. Questions. We've got a couple. I'm just going to try to. I'll get to everybody's questions and comments as we move along, because I know there's some on the other topics here as well. Michael says, Mr. Bassett, could you please give me your comment on the statement, all UFO sightings from 2022 onward are military-industrial complex reversed engineered crafts?
Well, once you say all, it's bogus. In other words, as you move toward the present, the number of sightings that are of craft of human origin using advanced tech, we'll just say anti-gravitics, is probably increased some. All? Oh, no. The ETs are still here. They're very busy. They're constantly around. And so, no. But it becomes more of a mixture, which makes it a little more complicated. And that's just the way it is. Not much you can do about that. And of course, if you're running the truth embargo, that's actually helpful to the extent that the question is it real or is it Memorex, right? It makes it hard to resolve it. And from the standpoint of the truth embargo, if you're trying to resolve stuff and not getting right to the point, that's a good thing. Right. And so, but it's unavoidable. Obviously, the moment the president confirms the ET presence, then we get into an era where the government will tell us, that's them, this is us, don't get alarmed, all right, and whatever. But we're not there yet, but we could be there at any time.
Right. Okay, next. Woo Riders, hello. Steve is ever optimistic that disclosure will come from our government in congressional UFO hearings. He goes, I can't put my trust into government at all after all of the decades of little fibbies. So, so what are your thoughts on that?
Look, I'm an eternal optimist in a sense. I get that. I get a lot of ribbing about it. It's okay.
Yeah.
If you're an activist on a major issue and you're not an optimist, you're really in the wrong business. You need to get the hell out of that.
Yes.
I think what I fundamentally say is disclosure is inevitable. And that I have 100% certainty. Disclosure has windows of opportunity, which I've pointed out over the years. And the window right now is as close as it's ever been. All right. So, and then to the final part of the question. Yeah. The reason you don't trust government is because it lies all the time. And so the only way the government can get out of that mess is start telling the truth. Right. And you just can't take the lying government and just say, okay, we're done with you, and just kind of throw it out, right, the back door to be picked up in the morning, and replace it with a truth-telling government and say, okay, I'm okay. I'm afraid it doesn't work that way. And so what you've got to do is you've got to do a lot of activism and work a lot for many years to get the government to finally tell the truth on this. And once they tell the truth, you will start to gradually be more accepting. Now, the government lies about a lot of things. And one of the reasons it does is because the truth embargo, which is basically a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, 12-month a year, 10-year a decade lie that has to be constantly serviced, has, among other things, undermined trust in government at a level that's literally threatening the democratic state. So they got to get in the truth business. You know, it's really simple. If you've been lying to your parents about some stuff and they catch you, right? Now, here's what's going to happen. You have to start telling the truth, right? And then if you tell enough truths, your parents will regain trust in you. You can't just say to mommy and daddy, you know, look, I know I've been lying, but I swear to goodness, I'm going to tell the truth from now on. Or if you give me a quarter or give me $1 a day, I'll tell you that. You can't do that. You have
negotiate.
to start telling the truth.
Yes.
Right? And then people will regain trust. That is the only way. There is no other way. You can't buy it. You can't, put a magic spell on your spouse that now will start believing you after you've lied to the spouse for like 20 years.
Right.
The government hasn't gotten there yet. And I'm thinking, okay, one of the reasons that the disclosure is going to be very powerful is it's the biggest truth of all time, finally confirmed by the government, which will get people's attention. And some people will say, look, you've always lied to me. I don't believe you. But then when the stuff starts coming out and you were telling the truth. And then if they tell some more truths as they're freed up by the disclosure event, which really frees them up, and start improving on the degree of secrecy and so forth, suddenly people will be going, you're doing a lot of truth telling here. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt for a while. And so we move into another era. It's kind of messy. It's not exactly easy. But if the government doesn't start telling the truth, pretty soon nobody will believe it about anything, in which case we want to start thinking about getting one of those, like in The Walking Dead, some of these compounds kind of up in the hills, get a little wall around it, right? Just kind of keep people out and try to enjoy
like them. Yeah.
That's how bad it could get.
Yeah. Yes, I would agree with you on that. Michael says, so agreed. I find it very hard, almost undeniable, to say that all sightings are not NHI. I'm sure there are more than a few that are military or government engineered or reverse engineered crafts, part 2, but the sheer number as well as worldwide makes it implausible.
Correct. We got both up there. And again, that raises another question. Boy, could we use that anti-gravitic tech in the civilian world. We could use that in a lot of ways to deal with issues that we're facing as a civilization, right? Instead of just for their purposes. And that's not the only tech that we could use. We are desperate for technological breakthroughs in our world, the public world, to deal with the mounting problems that we're facing. And yet they're going, no. We're going to keep this. Right? You do the best you can. Hang on. We're doing well, right? We have underground facilities. If things really go to hell, we'll just go on down there. So sorry, we don't have enough room for you. So we could use that tech. And so the fact that it's flying around is not just, isn't it great? We have it too. No, why don't we really have it? And that is one of the major issues why disclosure must happen as soon as possible.
Okay. Next question. Will disclosure come from the governments or from actual UAP landings all over the world?
I simplified my life by defining disclosure. So I know what it is. It can't be anything but what I defined it as.
See,
And
that's how
confirmation from the
I see
president.
it. Yeah, I see
Okay.
it that way as well. I mean, people are having their experiences everywhere. It doesn't matter if government says, yeah, okay, it exists. When so many people are having experiences, I mean, everybody's got a camera phone nowadays. I mean, people are really having wild sightings.
Well, yeah, but disclosure isn't about people having wild sightings. I mean, that's
Yeah.
been going on. Disclosure is about ending a truth embargo, opening the doors, opening the access to technology, getting the information out, and allowing us to move forward together in a world in which everybody knows we're not alone. It's a total major transformation. We don't have that now. People
We
can
do
have
not.
sightings all day long. So what?
Yeah.
Right? And so I define disclosure as confirmation from the head
Yeah.
of state. If it isn't confirmation from the head of state, it's not disclosure, capital D. So those that want to define it some other way, that's okay.
Well, what
But
about
it
all
ain't my
these other
definition.
countries who have been forthcoming about that? I mean, Peru, France. I mean, there's tons of countries out there that are just like, oh yeah, it's here. We've captured this, or we've seen this, or I mean, I remember reading one point, France actually had they had something in place. I think Japan recently did something in the last handful of years as well, where they were coming forward with information and encouraging people, go ahead and report it, and then they would just put it out there. Now, mind you, it could have been selective, but it just seems that the United States has been one to hang back, and they're a superpower. I understand you don't tip your hand to just anybody. You want to make sure when things get disclosed that you're not,
Mhm.
putting it off to the other side, sort of thing.
Well, the record is this. Other nations have done a little here and a little there.
Yeah.
Right. They stepped into it. So
Yeah.
nothing big. Right.
Yeah.
Japan, I think, recently just set up another organization to deal with this. They have a museum. Fine. This is not huge.
Yeah.
France had a report come out through a magazine. Okay, it's not huge. The U.S. has done more. More stuff has emerged from the U.S. than all the rest of the countries combined times 100.
Mhm.
All right. So let's get that perspective. Okay. These other countries are deferring to us. They're deliberately waiting, but they can't totally act dumb. They need to do something. And so a little pops up here, a little pops up there. But I assure you, it's pretty much disclosure is going to probably happen here. The vast amount of research has been done here. More politics has happened here. And of course, in the last 7 years, we've gone practically as far as we need to go.
Yes.
But so the other countries are not really, they're not going out of their way to try to interfere with this process. And they're not really causing a problem for the activism in the sense, but they're not going to disclose. But the UK is not really going out of its way to make it harder for us to do what we're doing here. The rest of the world, to put it this way, except for the Soviet Union and China, are waiting for us to
Yeah, they're
end
watching.
this embargo, so all of us can move into a new era, a transcendent time, a major paradigm shift together. They're literally waiting on us. And you may say, well, why would they do that? Because we have as many nuclear weapons as Russia and China combined. And without our nuclear weapons, they could be pretty much overrun tomorrow. We also have the major economy in the world, and so they are deferring to us. We are, I believe, abusing that trust and privilege by pushing this truth embargo way beyond its shelf date. But history will decide that, not me. However, that we're really close, and I'll get into that as the questions move on. But we're really close, and I can give a case why it could happen at any time right now, for reasons that are somewhat special to this moment.
I agree. There's great things coming. Michael said, Mr. Bassett, the Sky Watchers and the Psionic are, as you say, a new horizon of insight. Do you think everything is legit, and two, that they will indeed bring forth physical evidence, as they say?
Well, look, psionics is now, language is important. And psionic is a great term that has emerged to describe now a range of phenomena that might have previously been called psychic. That term was corrupted, like UFO was corrupted and so forth. Psionic is a term now that covers a range of things which have various levels of evolving legitimacy, but incredibly exciting possibilities if we can get to the post-disclosure world and really engage them.
Mm-hmm.
So under psionics, you've got telepathy.
Yeah.
Okay. Remote viewing, which is really something else. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly telekinesis. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Or telekinetics. Possibly precognition.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the fact that it seems that what we're learning in bits and pieces from what has emerged from this witness and that witness, but yet not formally from the government itself, obviously, is there's something special about the material that our non-human friends use to make their craft. These materials seem to have qualities that almost mimic consciousness of a type.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets things really interesting. And so there's probably a few I left out, but psionics covers all of that now. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And very soon it's going to be, and right now we're in a different place. Years ago, they were shutting down all the labs like Duke and Princeton. They didn't want any study. It had to go private. They were trying to study telepathy and so forth. The government doesn't want us to study telepathy for a lot of very good reasons, not the least of which the government knows all the ETs are telepathic.
Yes.
And the other reason is if everybody in this country was telepathic, being a politician would be damn near impossible.
It's a whole new game, isn't it? Yeah.
And marriages would, oh my God, the problem, the difficulty of being married goes to a whole nother level, whatever. And so, but that's in our future too. That's part of what's evolving.
Yes. Okay. So hold on. I'm just trying. There's questions pertaining to what we'll be talking about as well. So I just want to make sure I get everybody, get over that. So Polly says, I feel lately disclosure is a personalized awakening that glue pieces more than a massive landing in the White House. What are your thoughts?
First of all, disclosure is not a massive landing on the White House lawn.
Yeah.
Disclosure is the confirmation of the ET presence by the President of the United States or another head of state. That's it.
Yes.
Now it's confirmed. Now the walls of the intellectual ghetto come down, and the process of getting information out starts to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we can focus on moving forward instead of going around in circles, endlessly trying to prove what's already been proven, and also drowning in a, not surprising, ocean of speculation, theories, scams, jokes, whatever the hell else. Disclosure opens the doors to a lot of things, which may include open contact with the ETs. They're not going to land on the White House lawn, okay?
Yeah.
You know, they're more sophisticated than that. But open contact probably follows a formal disclosure once it's gone worldwide and pretty much well adjusted to take a couple of years. And all of this, the implications of that on everything that we do, think, say, and all of our hopes and dreams is almost incalculable, which means it'll be very exciting and promising and maybe forward looking. It will be a place that if we get there, people will realize, oh my God, I can't believe I'm alive at this moment in time. And that is not something people are feeling right now. Most of them are feeling, I wish I'd checked out about 30 years ago.
I can't believe I lived to see this.
Yeah.
Not such a good way. No, I can. We need good things. We need good things. Absolutely. Your thoughts on Congressman Tim Burchett saying that there are at least 5 alien underwater bases throughout Earth's oceans?
There have been some pretty dramatic comments coming from a number of the front, the leading politicians on this issue, which were pretty much dominated by the House Republicans, though there are several Democrats. The key committee is the Oversight Committee, which has now set up a task force, a very rare thing, a task force with a name that's hard to ignore, the Task Force on Declassifying Federal Secrets. Now, if you want to have a lifetime job, join the Task Force on Declassifying Federal Secrets. There are several hundred million of those, and God, you spend the rest of your life getting those out, you'll be a hero. So the leaders in the political engagement of this issue, unprecedentedly, include Burchett and Mace, Luna, Burleson, Moskowitz, Carson Garcia Moore, and also in the Senate, Schumer, Gillibrand, Warner, and Rounds. I mean, that's like 10 or 11 politicians. Prior to that, there was a little blip here and a little blip there as you go back 67 years, right? One guy in the Senate, something happened in the House. And now we literally have a congressional process underway, which is another reason why we're really close. Now, Tim Burchett is one of the most outspoken of these 8 or 9 or 10 politicians. He was one of the very first to come forward and flat out say, we've got this non-human presence, and whatever words he used and craft. That was before the hearing. Exactly I think I know what spurred him to do this. A couple of my colleagues were interviewing him, going in and talking with him. He was getting a lot of input. A lot of them were getting input starting back in 2018, not long after the To the Stars Academy came out, and Mellon started bringing witnesses to the Hill. So they were hearing and talking to people for some time. It was Burchett, though, that was the first one to really come out and go, dadgummit, they told me this, and by Lord, that's what's going on. Namely, there's ETs here. He did it on News Nation. He did it on Fox News, which definitely got the attention of a lot of people, and overnight made Congressman Burchett a star, right? International star. And of course, he's still there. So when he says we have those craft, I believe I know he believes that, and he may have been told that. And there's others, I think, that are in the same position, but not quite willing to do what Congressman Burchett does. So he is out in front. He's a leader. He will be generously rewarded by history and by his own country as this thing plays out to its full extent. But pretty much he's telling the truth.
Here we have it. See, again, I love that. It's good when you have, reputable people coming forward. I think it's just encouraging, Could you give a comment or two on the newly released Roswell crash photo and your understanding of whether or not it is legit?
I am not particularly impressed by it. If I had to put my money down right now on FanDuel, is it real? Is it Memorex? I'm going Memorex. I don't like it. Everything about it is not resonating with me. A lot of that kind of stuff is happening. I assure you, lots of it. And in this day and age, the only thing one thing has changed from 60 years ago. So you want to have fun with an issue and put stuff out, boy, you've got the tech to do it any way you want. So it's not overwhelming, but we're having to constantly deal with what we'll call noise. High quality or low quality, but seeming legit stuff that's suddenly pushed out on the net. Look, if it doesn't come with, a full ass certification and maybe some, strong witness testimony from somebody that we know who they are, I just put it aside. We have so much that's solid and real in front of us that will take us to disclosure. Don't need to go there. Later on, it'll be easier to sort through that stuff, or it won't even matter.
Well, I imagine you're going to get things coming from every direction as we get closer.
It's okay. I'm not complaining.
No, no. I'm glad there's interest. Could you make a comment on George Nappis and whistleblowing at the UAP hearing recently and calling out the CIA director and giving specific names to look into?
That hearing, the third major hearing we've had. There have been some small hearings and so forth. I think you could call them hearings, but these are the 3 hearings. That third one was far more significant than I think most people knew. It was extremely significant. You might say, well, look, the Grush hearing was it, right? I mean, it was. The Grush hearing was breakthrough and so forth, and we'll go down in history. But that third hearing, the second one was interesting too, but the third hearing, oh boy. And I can go on at length on this, but let me just point out a couple of things that happened in that hearing that I got. I'm not expecting the average person that's just watching this stuff is going to pick up on that. They're not, but I picked up on it. Bringing George Knapp on was a brilliant move on the part of the committee. I assume it was either Burleson or Luna that sealed that testimony. But Knapp he's not a witness, really, sort of, but he's a journalist.
Yes.
But he's been a journalist on this issue for 40 years. And he's done the work of 10 people.
Yes.
So he's talked with countless individuals, some of which are definitely inside. He's done investigative journalism. He's gathered a huge amount of information, which is fine. He's a journalist. And so by bringing him on and putting him under oath, not only did they get him on the record, but he was able to turn over thousands of pages. I think it was thousands of pages of research he's done as part of his investigative journalism, including in Russia, and just put it in as part of the record. That is a huge deal. They're going to be going through that for months. But George did something else. And I think this was planned. I think from the beginning it was planned. It was in his written statement that was submitted. One of the longest, I think it was the longest written statement that was submitted. So I read that and I immediately saw it. And I'm going, okay, will it come out in the hearing? Because in the hearing, it's under oath. I think the written statements are sort of under oath. You're not supposed to lie in those, but I'm not positive. But this comes out. And so they get to George. He's the third witness. And he's being interviewed by Luna. And, well, first of all, he reads his statement. But he didn't read it all. It's too long. So he gets to the part that's really important. But she cuts him off. And they put the video up. A video which I wish they hadn't put up. They don't need to do that. We don't need any videos that are interesting but not solid or vetted. Don't do that. It's good for audience interest and so forth. But big mistake. Whatever. And so then they jumped on, and I actually sent a text to Congressman Burleson, who may or may not have seen it. Ask him about this, and by God, he did. And what did he ask him about? Something extremely important. George went to Russia at least twice. He did a lot of research. He smuggled, wasn't that, I mean, it was kind of like that, but he managed to get a lot of documents out the door, which could have gone badly, right? But I think it was a time when things weren't too nasty. But he got the documents out. He talked with people over there. And what he confirmed to the level of an investigative journalist is something that we kind of knew had happened. We haven't had a Russian firsthand person come forward, certainly in our media, was that in addition to the known shutdown events of our nuclear missiles in 66 and 67 at Minot and Maelstrom, 3 times 30 missiles, of which we have witnesses ready to testify to and have been ready to testify for 30 years. It also happened in the Soviet Union. And one particular event, which he got the docs on and the interviews with, was a turn on, not a shutdown. Now, a turn on is way scarier than a shutdown. It's one thing to be 2 missile officers down in a silo with the keys, having some ham sandwiches, and all of a sudden the missiles shut down, right? Which they can't do. Certainly not all of them at once. And what are we doing? And whatever. It's another thing to be down there and suddenly the missiles turn on and go into the launch sequence. And there's there's certain things that happen. You got the initial whatever, and then you got a refueling thing and whatever the hell. And it's just ching, 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 ching. And they're watching this, realizing that those missiles could launch. And if they do, they've just started a nuclear war and they haven't done anything. You don't think they weren't scared? They must have been petrified in ways you can't imagine. And when it got to the point where it could launch them, it shut back down. This happened. We think it happened in the U.S. as well. And so he asked him about that. And for the first time in history, the matter of nuclear weapon shutdown in the presence of ET craft or non-human craft, or turn on in the presence of non-human craft, was put under oath to the United States Congress, in this case, in the form of testimony by George Knapp and his written statement. Okay. And so, and I'm just going like this, this is huge. I understood it. Most people, I don't think, would have understood how important that was, because the witnesses are under consideration. The shutdown witnesses in the United States, Salas and Chindelay, possibly Robert Jacobs, and a couple of others are under consideration to testify. This would be the ultimate hearing. I've been working on that myself for some time, but the witnesses themselves have been at it for 30 years. And so that was a major breakthrough. But then it gets better, because somewhere in there is either Knapp or Burleson mentions Robert Salas. First time that Robert Salas has come up in a hearing that was under oath on this subject. And of course, he's the lead witness on the shutdowns at Maelstrom. All right. Major breakthrough. So I'm just sitting there all pumped up. Most people are going, well, and then I think it came from the guy in the end. That would have been Wiggins, or it might have been the other gentleman. What was his name? forgive me, my memory's not as good, but I think it was either Wiggins or the other gentleman in the end, mentioned Bob Jacobs. Bob Jacobs is another nuclear tampering witness. He was the one that filmed the interference of a dummy warhead on an 8,000 mile an hour rocket by an actual saucer cruising around. The film was taken by the Men in Black, or whatever I'll call them, as soon as it was reviewed in the office. Everybody was put under, NDAs or death kind of thing. And he didn't say anything for years until he finally came out. And people said, well, you don't got the video, so why are we listening to you? Meanwhile, recently, Grush said he saw it, which means it still exists. And Elizondo said he saw it. So it exists. And Jacobs just got mentioned. And so I'm doing the math and I'm saying possibly the next hearing, we could be looking at Jacobs. We could be looking at Salas, Schindele, possibly Mario Woods, or another one of the security guys with the firsthand sighting of the craft over the base when the missiles went down. And maybe that video, talk about a video. The one they showed at this last hearing was just there's nothing there. I mean, it's not strong enough, and it wasn't vetted, but whatever. This video, which has been known about for decades, that turns up, and they put that out on C-SPAN and the committee TV channel, whatever the hell, and millions of people see that craft come in and circle around that missile, that ICBM traveling at 8,000 miles an hour, shooting beams at the dummy warhead and knocking it off. That is going to create quite a stir. And so I'm calculating all this as I'm sitting in that hearing room watching this. We get pretty excited. Okay. And so to give you a sense of what really happened there, and there's other things that took place very important. So these hearings are not trivial. They are part of a process that is leading only one place, and that's disclosure. And that was a major breakthrough. But it's all happening in the background. All manner of stuff is going on that is almost overwhelming. And that's the way it is. That's what I was talking about, the tides of history. You got to deal with that and make the progress that you can.
Wow. How do you even follow that up? It's powerful, Stephen. It's powerful.
Just keep rolling.
We're rolling. We've got like 20 questions and comments.
Bring them on. I got all night. This is all I do. I don't.
All right. Well, ironically, I happen to manage the network. I'm pretty sure we could go.
That's true. What do we got here? Michael Kent. Is he a relation to? Never mind. Okay.
Yeah. Are there crafts that have been observed from our military coming in and out of every sea, ocean, as well as large bodies of water inland? Not really a stretch, because we observe them coming in and out of volcanoes, going right through rock wall, well as order without inertia disturbance. Interesting.
Which, by the way, I never finished that Birchett question. Let me go back to that.
Okay.
Birch's statement was perfectly fine. Now, he said 4 bases. He doesn't know how many bases there are. Nobody knows how many bases there are. But I think the consensus is well established. The ETs have bases here. All right. Yeah. I mean, you know how many craft are seen all over the world? They got to come from somewhere, right? I don't think they're going back and forth between stars. Even if they can do it quickly, it doesn't matter. They could have a base on the other side of the moon or one of the moons of Jupiter, but that's a pain in the butt. Plus, we've already been around the other side. No, they've had bases here. And not surprisingly, they are bases that you ain't going to stumble on, right? It's not like something you're just going to accidentally stumble on them, because they're under the seabed, right? And that could be as deep as you want to go. It could be 10,000 feet of water, and then underneath that, they got a base. I think they put them under mountains, all right? And right there, that's pretty good, right? So you can have a lot of those bases. They may have 100. I don't know. Their activity level implies a lot of crafts. So it could be a lot, whatever. And so for that reason alone, in terms of the underwater evidence, if they are coming and going from bases under the seabed, then subs are going to pick them up from time to time. They're going to be seen there, right? In other words, and by the way, they don't have one of those bases like in Aquaman, where it's actually, totally visible, but it's way down there, massive city with all the lights.
Yeah.
No, under the seabed. And so they're seen coming and going. And so what Birchett is saying is absolutely true. The only thing is how many have they got? Well, they can have as many as they want. In terms of under the mountain, okay, this is where things get interesting, right? For those of you that are looking forward to the post-disclosure world and learning really cool stuff, this is cool stuff. They are seen going into the mountain. They're filmed sometimes and also videotaped, but seeing it is one thing and filming it is another, but there's no hole there, right? And they just go in, which means that they have the ability to go through matter when they want to. And if that is the case, they can have it right underneath the mountain. I assure you, nobody's going to accidentally stumble into that. So they're solid, okay? But unlike underwater, it's a little less likely to be seen, okay? Underwater, you got all these subs everywhere and so forth. So and then when they're coming out of the water, you got ships at sea. But in terms of the mountains, you got some climbers up there, maybe a few tourists. So, but the implications are profound. Now, let me add something. If you spend any time reading some of the 500,000 or more contact reports that have been submitted, not to the government, to researchers, emails, letters from very sincere people, there's a lot of information there that one day we're going to go over with a fine-tooth comb, but to really do it now, it requires millions of dollars of significant effort. And we don't have that kind of money because all the trillionaires, they're too busy making another trillion or whatever the hell. They don't want to they don't want to invest in this issue, but whatever. They can walk through your wall. In other words, you're in bed. Not that just showing up is not an issue. I mean, that's a big deal, particularly the first time. I'd love to have it happen to me just so I could see how my reaction would be after all these years. And how long would the fight or flight last? With me, would it be 5 seconds, 10 seconds? I don't know, but I'd like to find out. So they walk through the wall. Okay, well, that's impressive.
Sure.
What's going on there? So not only can a craft go through what we would call hard matter, an entity can walk through matter as well. Now, this is we're pre-disclosure now. Don't get all fired up about it. Don't go running around. I'm just saying the evidence is looking real good for that. You ain't going to get confirmation until after disclosure. I promise you that. And it'll be cool, but it'll be less of a thing. And okay, fine. Now, one of the reasons this is interesting and also confounding is that this is one of the reasons why interdimensionality is one of the reasons it turns up a lot in the analysis by people that are trying to understand this issue. Interdimensional. All right. I'm not a big fan of this. I don't like it. There are a lot of reasons I don't like it. But the point is, hey, look, if they can go through matter, then maybe they're able to go through it by going into another dimension until they get through the other side, whatever that, right? I'm not buying that. I don't like it. Here's what I think. Occam's razor, they have a technology that allows to open space in solid matter so they could go through and then it reforms. And you maybe say, well, that's pretty neat technology. It is. But if you know enough about atomic physics, or if you know something about atomic physics, what you know is if you're staring at a wall, just a standard wall, bedroom wall, right? And then let's just take a piece of it, right? I mean, about 5 feet high, 3 feet wide. And you reduce that and you took all of the matter, actual matter, particles that's in that wall, and just put them all together, it would be 99.99% nothing. In other words, what you see as solid is simply force fields interacting between particles and so forth within an area, within a solid object. If you have a technology that can negate those fields for a short amount of time, that becomes nothing but space. And if you can then move through it and then turn it back on and it comes back, that's not interdimensionality. That's just cool technology. All right. And so that's kind of where I'm at. So when you see them going into volcanoes, let me put it this way. If you really want to not be discovered by any speak on cursor,
that would be it.
Put your base under not just a mountain, but under a volcanic mountain. And I guarantee you nobody is showing up. So is that another example of a base that just happens to be under a volcano? Don't know. Are they trying to do something with that volcano? People speculate they're trying to mitigate what's going on. I have no idea. It would be a nice gesture if they're doing it.
Yeah.
But this is characteristic of what we'll call Occam's razor, nuts and bolts approach. I've tried to stay that way this entire 30 years, because the moment you start departing from Occam's razor, boy, you get out into, you're floating in space really fast.
Mm.
And that's not helpful. And
Mm.
so I don't go there. Others do. That's okay. It's all fun. And one day we're going to know for sure.
Yes. Okay. Oh, that's not the one I wanted to put up. Hold on. Kind of get it because we have two people asking the same thing. So I just want to get to it. So I'll come with the second one. Polly says, what's your opinion on the Hellfire missile in Yemen? And I'm guessing Michael is asking the same thing. I just can't find it because there's like 20 comments and questions waiting, but same idea. What do you
Video is not conclusive to me at all. I don't think it established. It's interesting, but I don't think it's clear what's happening there. And unless it's accompanied by other significant documentation and/or and witnesses, it's just interesting. It's best to stay away from we don't need to do that anymore. We've got so much good stuff that is going to be coming out and so forth. I'd rather not go there. So I just put a little pin in it, put it aside. Later, we may find out, my God, it was true, or we may find out it wasn't. But in terms of the disclosure process, it is almost irrelevant.
Okay. Next, would you make a comment on the Russian information that George Knapp released about turning humans into pillars of stone, and perhaps any insight you have on historic cattle mutilations? There's a double.
Well, cattle mutilation is straightforward. Linda Moulton Howe got that going and did a lot of research until finally, what more could you say about it? Occam's razor tells me, simple. Whatever the ETs are doing, they need animal blood and some tissues. They tend to take the same tissues and the animal blood pretty much from cattle as they do other animals. There's no explanation for how they do it. These animals are either are usually insured, or the government's paying the farmers, the ranchers under the table. Okay, look, sorry about that. Here's $5,000 in order to keep the thing from exploding. Because if that wasn't the case, farmers are really sensitive about their animals, and if they're suddenly getting slaughtered like that and losing it, they could cause quite a stink, and they haven't. So it's kind of always been under control. But it's obviously I'm looking forward one day to learning what do they need that blood for? What do they need those tissues for? That's going to be fascinating to find out. Are they going to keep doing that after disclosure? Another point. Okay. So cattle mutilation is pretty basic as far as I'm concerned, and yet not resolved. And in terms of what was the other half? That first part?
The Russians turning people into pillars of salt.
Let's just say that I don't know if it was Knapp that got that, maybe Paul Stonehill, but there's a lot that's come out of Russia through some research. Surprisingly, I went to Russia. I was there. I talked with 6 or 7 groups. Nobody bothered me. They're not, that is not something that gets you in hot water by and large in Russia.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other things that'll get you in hot water, but not really this.
Yes.
And so that could have been a story that's been out there and what have you. And beyond that, what can you say? It's not something my Occam's razor wants to immediately slice. Again, pillar of salt, what does that mean? Do they have the ability possibly to literally, it wouldn't shock me, but let's just say when George comes, if it was George that got this, but let's just say in general, when George comes through with that information about the turn on of nuclear weapons, we have all the supporting evidence on this side about the turn off of them as opposed to turn on. And so that was a very substantive thing. I'm not aware of much evidence on this side in the US about people being turned into stone or rocks or whatever, except in the Bible. So that's something I put a pin in again, and maybe we'll get resolution on that, but it's not essential to the disclosure process.
As you've said, the insights that Stephen Greer has put together, specifically like that of Colonel Philip Corso, are great insights. That's a comment.
Well, Corso was a significant event. It was early. It was early in the Clinton administration, happening about the same time that the Rockefeller Initiative was getting underway, the same time that Stephen Schiff, a very good and noble Republican congressman from Mexico, was trying to get the Roswell files, and basically they were saying, Roswell files? What are you talking about, Congressman? This Roswell. Anyway, they said they got burned up or whatever, a flood, whatever the hell, and it was sad, but they stonewalled the hell out of him. So Corso was important. He was very old when he started giving that information to Bill Burns to write the book. Complicated guy. His credentials were absolutely verified. And so the video he made for his grandchild about meeting that ET out in the desert, I don't know, White Sands, wherever the hell, and basically being asked by the ET to turn off the radar so they could, that their big radar system, so they could leave. And he said, "What's in it for us?" And the ET said, "A new world if you can take it." Look, even if that never happened,
yeah, it's a great story.
It's a great story. And that line, "A new world if you can take it," that's gold. And so many of us have used that line. I think it's a wonderful line in terms of disclosure. You asked me why disclosure, a new world if you can take it. So, but Corso was a hero. I think I had him speak at one of my conferences. I gave an award to his son. I think I did. I know his son came. In any event, I would be nice to see him vindicated down the line. His son is still alive. And it turns out that most everything he said was true. I think it is true, but maybe a little twisted, but a hero of the early time, in the early days before the activism was really getting going. Because again, Stephen Greer's event and wasn't until May of 2001, and Corso was out with that book before that. But nevertheless, it was an exciting time. It was the 50th anniversary of Roswell, came up shortly after that. I was there. We had a lot of energy. The Rockefeller Initiative, it just kind of ended. And then history took us off into another place.
As it always seems to. Can you give your understanding of the statement that we are merely containers as of the insight shared via Bob Lazar? I understand it as an indication to ancient involvement in our development.
Okay. The word container is kind of not really what I would call precise. We're containers. We're bags of water. We are. We're water containers.
Sums it up, doesn't it? Yeah. Development as a species. Sorry, finish.
Yeah, and we got the idea of this has been in play. The idea of reincarnation is basically we're soul containers, and when we die, soul kicks on, tries to get up to a better deal, right? Maybe a nice, a person that's going to have a swimming pool one day, whatever. So that idea has been out there, but the one that is referring to is not a what I would call constructive, and that is, and yet you can't it's great sci-fi. Yeah, that ETs can use us as containers. Now, what do I mean by that? And you get into walk-ins and things like that again. Occam's razor, get back down there, get to the basics. Yes. But the idea of ETs using this, I call it the Disney World theory of extraterrestrial involvement. In other words, Disney World is not going to cut it for an ET, right? You want to have an experience. You're not going to go to Disney World. But what if you could enter into an entity and be present, riding along with as they go through their life and experiencing everything they experience? That would be a hell of a ride, now wouldn't it? That would be an e-ticket ride. And then once you've enjoyed it enough, you just take off. You just leave. So that means that we are sometimes being used as entertainment vehicles for ETs to have a different experience. Yes. Good sci-fi. Proven? No. Is it a healthy speculation in terms of disclosure? No. I'm trying to push people with the idea, hey, you're a container for ETs, right? That's you don't really have a soul. You have an ET rider, and this is not comforting. This is not helpful, and it's not proven by any stretch of the imagination. It's a theory. It's interesting, but I say people just chill. Yeah. Don't jump into that one and a number of others. Let's wait and see. But if we are containers for ETs that occasionally hang out, it's not the worst thing that could happen to us, I assure you. The ETs have been around a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk about Disney World. You go back, if the ancient aliens has got anything right, in those 5,000 shows they did, is that they love to turn up back, in the days of yore, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 years ago. And they were always, they didn't have to skulk around. They just turned out, landed, and they were instantly treated like gods. Now, if you're an ET, just living your basic life out in some star system, and it's kind of routine like our lives. You like to have a little special experience, and you can learn that if you can get a ticket to the next craft leaving, you get to go to Earth for a while and be a god. You can have the god experience.
It happens though. Even with primitive people, I mean, look at one point there was a group in the U.S. that went down into the Amazon, and they had they were there for a while, and they come in with the helmets and everything else, and they leave. Well, they come back something like 5 years later, and out of straw or whatever they found on the floor of the jungle, the trees, there was a simulation of a craft, and they would dress, and these are people who do not have access to the outside world, but they emulated what they had experienced during that time, and it was an experiment. So it goes to show you why wouldn't they come down here? ETs looking at some of us primitive folk say,
well,
back
if they
in the
come
day,
down and hang around for a while,
yes,
like apparently they did in ancient times, it's God's city. They're having a ball. Now, if they come down if something happens over a short period of time, you get what is called the cargo cult phenomena that Margaret Mead made famous, and the truth embargo dined out on for decades. And it's like some airplanes had to land on some of those islands briefly or whatever, and fighting the war, and then they were gone, didn't come back. And the people on the island, what was this? What was this? And so naturally they kind of, and this is going to be true, it's the nature of human nature.
Well,
that kind of thing is going to be transformed into a God phenomena. So they built little shrines to them, hoping they would come back, and they even worshiped them. And you've given another example. All of this is not shocking. Some people think it's a huge deal. Oh my God, the ETs are all going to become cult believers. No, it's ridiculous. But it is the case that, at least with respect to human sentience and intelligence, that anything with a super technology, we're going to call them a god. But the need for gods and the use of gods in human experience transcends ETs. All right, you don't have to have ETs to be, getting into that realm. But the presence of ETs over the millennia has helped to stimulate it, certainly, in terms of something more profound, more amazing, more capable than us, and then go run with that. And you've got the God phenomena. So one of the things that could be useful in a post-disclosure era is to sort all this out. In other words, maybe the ETs have got some great videos. I mean, they have some of these discs that have 10 billion gigabytes on them or something. Say, okay, here's what happened during Egypt, right? Watch that. You can see what was going on. And we can kind of sort it out with information from the ETs. Says, okay, this is what was happening when this group was treating us this way, and this is what we did. Here's why we built the pyramids or whatever the hell.
Feels like we're a big social experiment.
I don't know. But I know that they know. Yes. And probably, even if it's not the same ones, they probably know. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah. Talk about your ancient aliens, right? Right. This would be the real ancient aliens.
Yeah, I love it. I do love that. Okay, we're going to go off a little bit here. What's going on with the Mesa Skinwalker Ranch?
Hell of a lot of money's being spent.
Yeah.
Basics. I think there are some areas that have anomalous things going on that may very well be ET related. I have a feeling that it's very likely associated with underground facilities, theirs, but it also could be ours. These underground facilities, I suspect, once we finally learn how many, are going to blow our minds. They're going to, what? How many? How deep? How big? Because they've had the license and the technology to build these things like crazy for 60 some years, unimpeded by the need to get any permits from the local, housing authority or anything else. God knows it's under there. Recently, we may have discovered a U.S. base just outside of Sedona, which underground, which is still in play, but remarkable for a very important reason. in that if there's a U.S. underground base, unlike the ones we know about, it has no perimeter fence. And not having a perimeter fence once you're discovered is a problem. So what the hell? So there's that. And so I think it's more likely somehow related to underground facilities, more than likely. That's a base. Now, it could be almost anything else. And the more tech they bring in, the more interesting things they find. The most important thing to me from a disclosure activist point of view is that these shows are extremely popular because people really want to know what's going on, and anything that alludes to possibilities there, they want to know about it, and that keeps their interest high. That's okay, because the basic story is not that exciting. There's ETs here. They go and do what they want. That's it. They come from another star. We can't go there yet. Maybe we can. That's it. Once you got that down, the rest of it, what? And so all of this is helpful in keeping people's interest. And hopefully one day we'll be able to sort it all out. True, true, not true, false, maybe true, true, false. That's the way you advance as a society, not living in a constant state of doubt and being misled. The scientific method doesn't work that way. And in general, the entire truth process should not work that way. But governments benefit by keeping you in the dark, by keeping you going around in circles, by keeping you diverted, distracted. They do that for their own needs and desires and not to our benefit. And that is something we need to fix, along with several thousand other things.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Let's, we can come back to some of this, of course, because there's a lot of, there's probably another 17 questions that are varying. So let's jump over to the 31 Atlas.
3i.
So, yeah. So she goes, what is your opinion on the 31 Atlas? Is it an alien craft? What should we expect from both sides? The alien and the human, per se, in your opinion?
Okay. First of all, dear, it is 3i Atlas, which is a fantastic name.
3i.
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, somebody's going to, I know that probably already it's happened. Some parents have named their kid, just born, 3i Atlas. I'm telling you. You know,
maybe Mr. Musk.
Another one he's going to name it.
Yeah.
It stands for the third interstellar, meaning outside, object from outside our solar system passing through that we have actually been able to track. Oumuamua was one of them. The other one's name escapes me, Boysen Box, whatever the hell it is. And then this one, which we call 3i Atlas. And Atlas refers to the acronym for this telescope array that initially, and I can't remember, but it's the acronym for the telescope array that first discovered it. 3i Atlas. It's very cool. Okay. All right. Well. First of all, this is prime material for every speculating space junkie out there, right? I mean, you know, it's taken a long time to get here, and it'll be a long time to leave, and lots of time to have fun with that. And the internet is better than it's ever been. We got the AI.
Supposed to be here in November.
Yeah, it's actually gonna run around the Halloween. Okay, trick or treat. So it's grist for the internet mill like nothing of late. So they're having fun. They're rocking, they're rolling. It's all good. Okay. And of course, Avi Loeb is helping us, who's become very famous by dealing with interstellar objects. Oumuamua, suddenly, you know, he became a worldwide figure over that thing. Just kind of, you know, I think it was a rock. Now we got this one, which is even more interesting. Yes. So Rockham's Razor. It is an interstellar comet-like structure that is off-gassing, but not typical for comets, because it's coming from another solar system. Okay, it's moving pretty fast, but even then, it would take hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of years for it to get from what we'll call another solar system. Okay, so in that sense, definitely overdue delivery, right? You know, this was not FedEx overnight. It's going to pass through the solar system near the sun, and then it's going to continue like Oumuamua on and sail on for another couple of million years. That is Occam's razor. Now, there are individuals who are very smart, who have lots of tech and lots of contacts, of course. This is the nature we are. That have zeroed in on this baby, and they're running with it. And there's a number of things that are turning up here, there, what have you. I read them; they're fun. Do I necessarily buy into them? No. However, the most recent development is interesting. Okay, and that is this: images have turned up, right, from wherever, showing that suddenly 8, 9 companion objects, essentially arrayed in a somewhat orderly way, are now traveling along with it. And calculations of the energy being emitted by these, by other people that, again, I don't know who, what, is extraordinarily high. Okay. And so they're making the case that this is at minimum, a non-human created vehicle that has now a number of companion vehicles traveling along with it in an orderly way, heading our way. All right. And so that's interesting. Now, these companion objects, I have been checking, they have not been confirmed yet by what we'll call an independent entity, though maybe it's happened. So right now it's, still that zone, right? The conjecture zone. The images are great, but that means nothing now. Okay. In terms of creating images that'll show anything, we've passed that line. So now this idea that you're going to look at it, no, forget it, right? You either get providence or you just you just don't do anything radical based upon something you see on the net these days, because you have no idea if it's real or not until somehow that is confirmed to you in an appropriate way. So, but here's the deal. It's simple. If those 9 companion objects, in fact, are generating mass amounts of energy, they're not leaving a trail, but the main comment is, if even one of them sets off in its own trajectory, right, at some point, particularly as this puppy is moving past the sun and kind of heading our direction, well, let alone 4 or 5 of them, then, okay, we're talking alien invasion at that point. And guess what? That's going to be something. So I've already got my thoughts of that are well developed. If there's going to be an alien invasion, and this is one of the best scenarios that's turned up so far. It's got lots of cool elements and everything. And of course, that hasn't been validated, but it could be, whatever. And so, yeah, it really fits the genre. And so you give me alien invasion. I'm going, okay, I'm an old guy. I'm already up there. I don't have that many years left.
No.
You get to a certain age, you start thinking how you're gonna wrap up. Okay.
Yeah.
There's so many possibilities.
Right.
And I'm thinking, man, the way I want to go is an alien invasion, like a sci-fi movie, right? Living out an actual real alien invasion. Heading north, trying to get maybe out in the Rockies, get up to some friends I have out there, maybe out to Oregon. Then hanging out a little bit and maybe try to work our way up into northern Canada, having to go at night, trying to avoid any ETs that might be turning up. Meanwhile, we're hearing stories, on one of those ham radios or something about, my God, Denver's gone. Whatever the hell. It's just until they finally catch up with me. I'm going, hey, that's the way to go. I mean, you can't do better. And plus, all these hundreds of Walking Dead and apocalyptic movies and television shows I've seen have given me a very substantial set of skills that would come in handy in dealing with this kind of apocalyptic scenario. Gathering together, whatever, checking stuff out. And so this, all I'm saying is, if even a couple of those things change course without a gravitational explanation, if the whole thing changes course without a gravitational explanation, and you're going to have to sort through your affairs, get things tapped down, and decide how you're going to rock in these last months or weeks got left.
Let's look on the flip side of that. Cindy says, who's on X, hi, Cindy, with a growing number of people that are channeling ETs, they are having the same information that 3i Atlas is coming to give us information and upgrade to unlock dormant DNA for health, healing, spirituality. How do you feel about that? Not as exciting as invasion, but it's a little bit more love and light.
Well, that's the flip side of what I said, but it's not as funny.
Yeah.
It's like I could have gone with that one, but I can't get the humor out of that. But yeah, look, there is another flip side to this, obviously.
Yes.
And that is, if that thing started turning our way, it means that, well, I mean, all the stuff that's been happening, and we're getting closer to disclosure, we're not doing it. All this activity, finally, it's time for them to kind of show up in a big way to resolve this issue. Now, the issue that I bring up all the time that is going to get resolved one way or the other is that, humans being humans never miss an opportunity to invent a new weapon. And we finally invented our ways right up to nuclear weapons. And we made them so unbelievably powerful, we had to actually step back, right? Make them less powerful. But believe me, we got plenty to pretty much make life a living hell. And we could launch them at any time. And that's a problem for us. But there's also a potential problem for them. And I believe it is one of the reasons why this whole thing, where this has been heading all along, in a somewhat responsible way, which is a good thing. And that is, we're going to figure out how to go from star to star. My condolences to all the time travelers and interdimensional, thinkers and everything else. I think it's star to star. I'm going to win that bet, but you're going to get good odds. You might win, but I'm going to get low odds, but I'm going to win that bet. We're going to go star to star. It's a matter. It's not a matter of going into other dimensions. I think it is a matter of understanding time space, which we really don't understand as well as people think, right? It's pretty wild stuff, because it's not just the three vectors of space, it's the time, but basically the time, three vectors of space, understanding in a way more sophisticated than we know now. And by understanding it at another level, you learn how to work with it in a way that avoids time dilation and the energy problem, all right? And there's already been a number of theories. They've got equations. There are people working on this. They've been working on it for decades, even on the outside, right? Without any of the inside knowledge that the government's gotten from ET craft or what have you. I think we're close to it. And therein lies the problem. We could be in starships in 15 years if the breakthrough occurs. This reminds me of the incredible movie Interstellar, one of the great movies of all time. I've seen it twice. I may see it more times. If you haven't watched that movie, you're really missing out. But if we solve that problem, we're going to the stars. And being who we are, we're going to be taking our nukes with us because can't be too safe.
Yeah.
And that's a problem for every other civilization out there. Every other planet with a civilization that is, say, not where we are, maybe where humans are going to turn up. Humans, the most violent creatures in 10 parsecs. Okay, I mean, we're so dangerous. We wake up in the morning in cold sweats, and so we're going to be taking nukes on our starships out there just to make sure nobody messes with us. This is not something any civilized, advanced federation is going to put up with. Now,
we don't know how to play nice in the sandbox. That's for sure.
Even in Star Trek, let's face it, it's a wonderful new approach to thinking and life and all that crap, but they were still shooting each other and blowing themselves up. And I don't think that's the way the galaxy works. And so they're not going to let us do this. They're not going to let us build starships and be able to go with nukes out there. They're not going to let that happen. And so something's going to have to give, right? And so that theory that we still haven't disclosed, we still haven't kind of opened the door. We're getting close to using nukes on ourselves, and that's a problem too. A terrible waste of a civilization, frankly. And so the idea that finally a major craft turns up and confronts us and says, "Okay, here's the deal, right? You see, we're here, and so here is what couple of what we can do this the easy way or the hard way, right?" Right, you get rid of all the nukes, you get your act together, we'll sort things out. You're going to run this planet in a way that makes sense and is not destructive and move towards being a species worthy of being part of a galactic reality. Or we'll just get rid of all of you, and we'll bring in some hybrids or something and start over. All the rest of the animals will get a break. So it could be like that. I like that theory. It appeals to me. However, I don't think it's 3i Atlas, because I believe they can come and go. They've been coming from other stars for a long time. This is a something that has been traveling for a very long time at a not particularly high speed. If I'm an ET craft, the reason that would explain that, this kind of thing that coming in, even if it's a couple 100,000 miles an hour, is that it gives us a lot of warning. In other words, it could go a million times faster than that, but by coming in like that, we see it, we're tracking it for months, and we're kind of thinking about it. It gives us a lot of warning, a lot of preparation. So then they come up, they can do it. I'm doing my best to justify a positive outcome in this.
Right? Yeah, I'll roll with that.
I hate to tell you, it's coming and it's going. Avi Loeb is going to have to wait for the next one to turn up before he can get more press.
Maybe it's starting a thing, maybe there'll be more.
You never know.
Buga, carbon dated 12,500 years ago. Opinion, please.
Once again, we're at a time now where anything anomalous comes up is going to get a ride. And this has gotten quite a ride, quite a play. Same thing with the Peruvian, I guess we call them mummies. Yes. Which got a hell of a ride. It was complicated, but I think that we now know that they are real. And Jesse Michaels gets the credit for that. He took a lot of people down there, spent a ton of money, got all of the information firsthand, including all these scopes and scans. Mm-hmm. And those things are real, but exactly what? Not sure yet. But okay. But for a while there, it was a rocky ride, but that's cool. Now the Buga. First of all, you got to love the name. You're going to have a sphere. It's got to be the Buga. All right. That guarantees worldwide coverage of this baby. So that's good PR. Mm-hmm. And so we have a video of something flying, and then it's supposed to get on the ground and somebody gets it, and then it comes forward, right? Now, my first reaction is, okay, why haven't they taken a big ass drill and just going boom right into that thing? I don't know, but I could see why they might not. So it's really in play, and it's interesting. And the latest development is carbon dating some of not with silicates. It was that's another word for it, but they were carbon dating not metal, but certain things that can be accumulate or be part of the metal. And they dated it back. What was it again? 200,000 years? No, 120,000 years. I forget. Interesting. All right. Worth making a note in. Have we gotten a kind of confirmation and evidence and documents? No, it's mostly an internet thing. I'm waiting for that. And even if they are carbon dating that, now they have to go through the entire scientific process in which they eliminate any way that more recent contaminants could have gotten into that metal that would make it younger. So confirmed? No. Interesting? Yeah. The design is kind of intriguing. It's a great story. Is it necessary for disclosure? No. Is it a distraction? Yes. But as distractions go, it's not too bad. It's kind of fun. And I'm enjoying watching it. Just like I'm enjoying the things that are tricks that are being done with this object coming in through Atlas. As long as it doesn't rise to the level of a serious distraction, then the disclosure process is not really bothered. When you get serious distractions, like say a fraud inside witness coming out with extraordinary stuff, it gets picked up, lots of articles, lots of contention, a lot of back and forth. This is the kind of distraction that is much more of a problem. I don't think the Buga or the mummies really rose to that level. And the mummies are now, I think, established as real. Now let's find out what they really are and what the totality is. That'll be cool. But the Buga is fun. I enjoy it. But ultimately, it's all about getting the ET presence confirmed. And then these kinds of things will get resolved a little bit faster, right? The boom, ba bam, ba bang, which is the way it should be. Why should we have to spend major parts of our lives running around in circles, trying to figure something out that would be easy to do, except the government has, just created a wall of a hall of mirrors to keep us distracted while they do their secret shit. So, I have no patience for the government policy on this.
I think a lot of people feel the same way. Polly, what's your opinion in Europe of the new drones wave? Drones everywhere.
Well, drones are everywhere. Yeah. And so they're going to be turning up all the time. and a drone turning up over an airport that's not particularly unusual, dumb, stupid, probably against the law. But yeah, get used to drones. But let me make it clear. The drone swarm, quote, that happened for about 12 months from late 23 all the way to the end of 24 was non-trivial. It was a major event. And to properly assess it, you got to go online and you've got to try to dig up as many of those camera videos that were taken of the orb swarms. Now, again, you call it an orb. It's an orb. It's a plasma ball. It's whatever the hell it is, right? But it's basically a round ball of something. I happen to think that it's exactly what the Foo Fighters were, which was well established in World War II. So they've been around for a long time. So Occam's razor says that this is energy balls of something, could be plasma, that a non-human tech is able to control, like we would control a standard drone with the little propellers. That's us, a little propeller thing flying around. We're really cool about that. Well, they can do it with balls of light because they're more advanced than we are. They got better tech. And so, okay, if they can do that, then they can fly these things around anytime they want, like they did in 52, when a bunch of them just flew over the Capitol for about 12 days. Got the attention of the U.S. government big time. All right. And that was a long time ago. But over the years, they turn up from time to time. They've always turned up. Okay, fine. But starting late 23, all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. Why? I can speculate. All I know is stuff started turning up around our ships, flying around the ships, okay, and you get to film with this stuff. And people go, well, what could that be? Who knows? And I'm going, beg your pardon? Right? Common sense, Occam's razor. An American warship will not let anything fly around it that it cannot identify, period. Not even a kite. Yeah. Because a kite could have an explosive device. And if you're the captain of an American warship and these things are flying around and you don't do anything and one of them comes down and blows up the rear turret, your career is over. You'll probably go to jail. It'll be a major event, right? Even the admiral of that particular zone is probably going to lose their job. It is you have to shoot that. We didn't. And then they started these plasma balls started turning up over military or sensitive sites in the West, and they weren't shot down. And I'm going, okay, that means they're not ours because if the reason they're not shooting them down is because they can't. If they were ours, they could, or if they were ours, okay, that would be another matter, and that's a possibility. But overall, it's a major problem for the government. And then they started moving west. And they were turning up over, and this was going on for months. Go find the videos. But it wasn't until they got over New Jersey. Because, you're going to fly over New Jersey, okay? You're going to fly over sensitive sites in New Jersey. There's going to be a price. You're going to have to deal with that because we don't allow that in Jersey. And so suddenly it became a big deal. And they called them, quote, the Jersey drones. And so the net assessment of this is Occam's razor is this. This was a massive UFO flap, hundreds of times bigger than the 52 flap, that I think was being conducted because they were losing paces with the fact that we're right there at disclosure and we keep finding ways to push it off. There's a pushback coming from the DOD and whoever else wants the secret, take it to their grave. And they're seeing how close we are and they decided to goose it, right? And they goosed it. Let me tell you, videos, everything turning up, hundreds of articles are written about it. This went on for about a year. Government was faced with an impossible problem. What the hell do you do when ETs are flying drones over your bases and you can't shoot them down? You can't say what they are, right? It's a real problem. And they were they were fit to be taught. And finally, somebody came up with a genius solution. It's the best they could do. And that was this. Look, we can't stop them from doing what they're doing. But we got drones. Not plasma balls, but drones. Lots of them. Some of them very high tech. People don't even know they exist. And so what if we start sending up our drones whenever the phenomena turns up? So it turns up over a base. Maybe you got 20, 30 of these things in formation. Suddenly, our drones go up, right, and start flying up into that space. And so people on the ground are looking up, and they're seeing these plasma balls, but they're seeing some drone thingies, right, that kind of look like drones. And they say, hey, I saw a drone. Okay, fine. So great. So what did the government do? They said drone swarms, grandfathered in the rest of the stuff, called the whole thing drone storms, and tried to slip out, under, the cloak of darkness out the back door of the saloon. And they sort of got away with it. I was amused. I was laughing my ass off this whole time. It's so funny that what they have to go through in order to keep a lie that should have been ended like 25, 30 years ago. But the key moment came in a briefing in the Department of Defense, because they do have to hold those things. Got a bunch of reporters in there, as often. And the victim of the day was a gentleman by the name of Admiral Kirby. Admiral, rather. He's an Admiral Kirby, okay. So he has to come out and answer questions about the latest developments of the drone swarm. And so this woman journalist, whose name I do not know, but I will find out. I want to meet this woman. I take her to lunch at the press club. She gets her turn, and she's kind of in the lower corner, right? She's over here, so it's the lower corner of the screen. She walks up to the mic. She says, "Admiral, are these things ours?" It's a very simple question. No problem. Except, what is the Admiral going to do? He can't say yes, because then the next question is, what in the hell are they doing over all our bases? And you know that they're ours, and nobody has said this until now. And what the hell is going on? He can't answer that. So he says, no, they're not ours. Okay, fine.
That's a problem.
Question.
Yeah.
Do you know whose they are? Are they another nation's? Now he's got a real problem. He can't say, yeah, they're another nation. And then the next question is, what in the hell are you doing, allowing another nation to fly drones and God knows plasma balls over our military bases and do nothing about it, right? That's a big problem, but it gets even worse because he's just proven a negative. In other words, are they another nation's? Answer is no. The only way he could know, or we could know, that there's not another nation's drone up there is if we go take up our own drones, or God knows our helicopters, and we shine lights on every single one of them and read the license plate that says France, right, or England, and we can't do that. So it was an absurd answer. So now it's just getting bad for this guy, and you could see the pain in his face. The Admiral's going, I'm an accomplished member of the Navy. I've spent years achieving this rank, and I'm standing here having to make a complete ass of myself because the government simply won't acknowledge a non-human presence. The final question, then, final question, do you know what they are? And the answer is no. No. In other words, he just basically said that the entire military intelligence complex is completely emasculated by some stuff flying over our bases, right, that we've called a drone swarm, but we still don't know what they are. And so, again, just like Colonel Haynes and the 1997 press conference, when he came out and had to make a complete ass of himself and embarrass the entire Air Force as they tried to deal with the growing interest in Roswell, which they had grotesquely tried to cover up and didn't work. This poor guy had to come out and do this. And so that is what was happening with that. And so all I can say is it stopped. Though any drone turns up near a base now, we're getting attention. And yet we're not aware of any attempt to shoot any of those down. The Hellfire missile thing off of Yemen would be an example of shooting one if it were true, except it hasn't been proven yet. Because the U.S. Air Force knows full well that shooting at these things is a mistake and pointless, right? But if that is a human craft, they would have shot at it. But the government could come forward any time and completely establish what that is, but they won't because they do like this to spin our wheels as they play games.
Yeah, they do.
That's my spiel on that. What else we got?
All right. Last one.
Really?
Any info, opinion on the Panama entity that is driving crazy the platforms? It's everywhere. This thing is everywhere.
All right, help me. I'm not up on the Panama entity. What is the Panama entity?
Oh, God, I think it came off, some meteorite. And this thing is just this mass of something, fibers, whatever the case may be, and it's growing. And it's got this whole, let me just see if I can pull
do
it
a share on this. Is it something on the ground? or in
Oh
the air.
yeah, somebody's got it. Let me just see if I can grab
Okay.
something here. Panama
And
entity.
that's not a great name. Bogosphere is a great name. Panama
It's just
emanates
it's
not giving a
crazy
full.
now. Yeah. Um, I'm just trying to figure out because apparently there's a company named that. Okay, here it is. So this is an article, and this is what this is. I'm going to share it up. Okay.
Photo.
Yeah,
Put
one
a
second.
photo.
Yeah, it's insane. There's videos of this. I'm just going to grab it right now. There's
Okay.
videos of this thing, and it's growing, and it's crazy when you think that this thing is actually, and they've got videos of this.
Oh yeah,
Right?
that's right. I did see this,
Okay, good.
and I think they said something is growing out of a meteorite.
Yeah, well, here it is. There's a little video of it's considerably bigger now. It's
Okay.
large. It's in a tank, and it is swimming around at an undisclosed site. So this is
Well,
when
right now it's on somebody's dining
this
table
is
in the
when it was
kitchen.
tiny. This is when it was tiny. The thing is huge now.
Okay,
And
so it's the same one. This is early
Yeah.
on. That's what we're seeing early, and
Yeah.
it's gotten bigger. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me see if I understand this. Somebody finds what he thinks is a meteorite with stuff growing out of it. He has no idea what it is.
Yeah.
So he takes it home and puts it in his in his kitchen. Okay.
Yeah.
This is not, how would you say, been thought out. Okay. All right. I can think of several reasons why he's probably already facing a life of serious medical consequences. You just don't do that. Okay. So right away, you got to acknowledge the dog. If the dog's still alive and this person is still alive, okay, that says something about this. All right. So it continues to grow. Fine. You know, what are those things you used to buy that you put in your kitchen? It was a name for them. They would grow stuff, little thingies.
Chia pet.
Chia pet, yes.
Yeah.
So is this an extraterrestrial chia pet? Okay, could be, but again, if it's extraterrestrial anyway, get it completely sealed, right? Absolutely, and then get some really good scientists to come in and look at it. Until then, I'm not overwhelmed by this. I mean, it's impressive.
Yeah, I don't know why that hasn't happened.
Because
she says a meteorite held an egg inside that developed into a full alien entity.
Yeah. Well,
That's
again, if in fact it is a non-terrestrial plant, it's an incredible danger to anybody around it. But also, if verified, it's one hell of a find and would be worth probably many millions of dollars. All right. Assuming they've already, gotten a license or a trademark on it, whatever the hell. So
yeah,
I enjoy this kind of stuff. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's fun. I invite people to have fun with it.
Yeah.
But don't get carried away, because a lot of these kind of distractions are serviced so hard because the frustration that exists that the major truth, which is right in front of our eyes, is being withheld by our own government in so long. And so you just going into these things and really having fun with it is a way to kind of just blow off steam and deal with the frustration of being blocked from the really extraordinary stuff. But the government doesn't care. Yeah. We can waste all of our time forever. They don't give a damn until we force them to give a damn.
Yes.
And so that's the only thing. But as things go, this looks like fun. If anybody dies, then definitely they're going to have to get that thing secured. But again, if I find any meteorites with stuff growing out of it, right, I can assure you,
back away.
Seal that baby off, have it tested, and if it turns out to be real, I'm going to retire. Well, I'm not going to retire, but I'm going to be living very large, because even just a meteorite that size, if it was a real meteorite, you realize something that size, you could sell it for maybe $300,000-$400,000. So they need to think this through a little better. I'm happy to help.
I know. You have to go check out some more recent videos on it. Okay, real quick on 31i Atlas. She says a recent article in the Debrief said it could be a seed full of life, aliens' way to spread life in the universe. What are your thoughts?
The idea of something that is essentially not piloted, that's of extraordinary size, with companion objects, traveling God knows hundreds of thousands of years until it finally crosses into a solar system, and it's designed at once it's near a sun, it sends out stuff that could seed planets with life. Now that has a certain appeal to it.
Yeah.
I believe that life has been seeded. I believe that panspermia is true, where life gets spread because it's part of particles that are blown off of collisions into life planets and of a nature that can survive in space, and ends up crashing into another planet, a water planet with no life, and gets going. But even more likely than that, I think that once one civilization in a 13 billion year old galaxy with more stars, more galaxies than there are leaves on trees in our world, if just one planet develops spacefaring capability, they could literally start spreading life to other water planets. It wouldn't be that big a deal, and they might very well do it deliberately. And that would have been 13 billion years ago. So I'm going to say panspermia maybe is this much contribution to the spread of life to our galaxy, but intelligent entities spreading life intentionally, even much bigger, much greater. Are we one of those? We had the water, we had the temperature. So if I'm a planet that wants to see more life, and this is a lifeless but yet water planet, I'm coming down, throwing some stuff in the ocean, come back in 50,000 years, see how it's doing.
Just mix it up. Just like you get those little mermaid seeds and throw it in. Yeah, stir it up.
We would do it. We would do it if we could start traveling. We find some water planet out there. It's got nothing but water stuff, not an ounce of life. And we're going,
I know.
Let's see that puppy, right?
It reminds me of the Star Trek episode with the humpback whales that they had to go back in time to get because there was nothing left.
Absolutely. Yes, that was an example of that. Well done.
Yeah.
Good old Star Trek.
Yeah.
Almost every scenario that is likely to unfold has already been covered by Hollywood movies. They've pretty much covered it all. Now it's just going to be a question of which movie turns out to be right? Will it be Arrival? Not Independence Day, I hope, because not only because Independence Day was good. Independence Resurgence was so bad, I literally cringed. I was on the floor weeping watching that movie.
Yeah.
But
Steven Spielberg has a new one coming out, so.
Yes, he does.
Are you excited about that?
And it's a big deal. He's going to make $1 billion, and it's had several working titles, which is what they do, right? They just kind of move it along, and they'll change the title for a number of reasons, if only to help kind of keep it from getting out.
Yeah.
But the second title that they picked that got out through the grapevine, Disclosure. That was Steven Spielberg's message. I think it was a personal message to me. Frankly, I'm sure that's what it was. But it was a message to all of us. I'm paying attention. I'm actually a pretty knowledgeable guy.
You are Mr. Disclosure.
What now?
You are Mr. Disclosure.
There's a couple of people that might claim that name before me, but I'll accept it for now.
Yeah, we'll let you borrow it tonight. We can take turns.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Capital D Disclosure. My word. The thing is, I'm not able to write books for various reasons. Mostly deficiencies. Yeah. If you want a word to become yours, you got to write a book with it in it, right? And then you define it. Everybody gets it. But if you just do it on podcasts for like 10 years, it's like it's just hanging in the air, and you don't really get that's your word. So I gotta write something. I'll do what I can. But that's one of my contributions. Disclosure with a capital D, Truth Embargo.
Yeah.
Have I trademarked them? No, because I'm a generous guy. I want to share with the world. Truth Embargo, Disclosure Capital. What was the other one? There's another one in there. Truth Embargo. No, not Truth Embargo. I can't remember. Those two for sure. But there's another one I've forgotten already. It's so sad.
Yeah.
Language is important to activism.
Yes. Well, I am thrilled that you were on, and we're going to have to do this again because there's just, I think we could take it. Questions were coming in, but in different directions altogether. So I'm going to talk to you about another date. And, I think we could probably do like they were saying, another 48 hours of you.
What's the timing here? Let me think now. Burleson wants, we never even got into the hearing stuff. Well, not much. Burleson wants another hearing. He's stated, and he's trying to find witnesses. We're hoping he's going to select the nuclear witnesses. We'll see. but that may happen soon. And so if they hold a hearing, say next month, which is possible, then let's get me back on after that hearing, because there's always something cool to talk about after that.
Oh, absolutely. Because I book like many weeks ahead. So by the time, we can get you back on, I'm sure a lot of this will have happened, and it's very exciting. And hopefully you'll be able to come to us with some really exciting news and say, hey, they did it. Yay. So wouldn't
Yeah.
that be grand?
Let's
Yeah.
just say that for the rest of the year, the ET issue and the disclosure process may very well be the least interesting
I
thing
know.
that's
I
going to
know.
be happening, and,
I
and,
know.
the, and the
With
least
the,
concerning.
yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
we just got to go. We just got to ride the horse we came in on. It's going to be an interesting 4 months, I can assure you.
Oh, well, we're going to keep our fingers crossed because the whole world is exciting on many different levels right now. To
Yeah.
everybody in the chat room, thank you guys. Your questions were fantastic, and line them up because we're going to do it again. So you have been listening to The Outer Realm with our special guest, Steve Bassett. Always fascinating. We've been broadcasting on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM, New Orleans. Now, thanks to Folgers, thank you to Dr. Snick, and thank you to Steve McGinnis. Tuesday, Beyond the Outer Realm, Max Empiric returns to discuss his book, Paranormal Apocalypse. We're getting into spooky month, right? So we're gonna start off with a bang. Wednesday, my dear friend and fellow UPRN host Laura Lee Potbane from the Angel Rock and Beneath the Hollow Moon with Carrie Lynn Shellhorn joins me. We're going to deep dive into some obscure paranormal cases, stories, exorcisms, deliverances, ancient modern times, all the fun stuff. Thursday, open mic. Wayne Mallows will be joining into the discussion. We're going to be tackling mirrors and portals, scrying, all the fun stuff that you kids, should know about before we get into the crazy months. Anyhow, have a terrific weekend, and everybody behave. We'll see you all next week, and big good night.
Ad Astra.